No, I'm sorry.
Good. No, that's good. Being introduced.
Good evening. Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. We have invocation by Pastor Katrina. Or called, I did, sorry.
Would you pray with me, please? Holy One and Sustainer of all life, we approach your presence as those who know what it means to be free in this month as we celebrate the freedom of our country. We thank you that for that freedom and hold it in a place that means we are not actively engaged in war in our country with another country or countries in the world. While we celebrate our personal freedom as people, we are aware that there are many places in this world who have not known peace for a long time, whose children or even grandchildren have not known a peaceful day in their lives. For them, we ask for peace and cessation of conflict and fighting so that they can live lives that are generative and creative rather than fearful, where surviving is a constant battle. A place where basic necessities like food, shelter, and even family is difficult to maintain and thrive. I give you thanks tonight for the mayor, the vice mayor, the city manager, the city councilors. They serve as the core leadership for Broken Arrow. Bless them with wisdom, courage, and knowledge of the great responsibility that they have to impact in a positive manner all those who call Broken Arrow home. Allow the decisions made tonight to be reflective of all the constituents of Broken Arrow and not just a few privileged individuals. I remind them of their mantle of leadership that they carry for the entire community. I gave you thanks tonight for the first responders, fire, police, dispatch, and others who are constantly putting their entire being on the line for the good of the community. Bless them and their families as they go out day after day, night after night, to serve and protect the community of Broken Arrow. Help them to want to be the best for the community, that they could always see the people as Broken Arrow as citizens in our shared community. Be with the citizens in our community. Help us to be united and focused as we live our lives within the circle of this community. Help us to see that everyone has purpose and dignity. Help us to allow each other to live as though we depend on one another, regardless of our race, ethnicity, gender, age, or anything that could cause us to separate. We are all the children of the creating God. Help us to see worth in each other. Thank you for allowing us to be community together. Bless all who attend this meeting, either in person or electronically. Help us to want to be better together. It is in the name of the Creator, the Sustainer, and the Redeemer that I pray. Amen.
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 Thank you. Roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks. Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please stand and join Councilor Green for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 7A, presentation of street.
You got to turn a few pages to get there.
Yes, it's a long consent agenda. Presentation of street closure required near North Elm Place and West Stonewood Drive. Charlie Bright.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, Mr. Spurgeon. My name is Charlie Bright. I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction. Before I go, real quick, tonight's obviously a large agenda. We got a ton of stuff on it in our department, so you'll see a lot of my staff members up here presenting tonight. One in particular I wanted to introduce. We have a new staff member who replaced my old position, Miss Shannon Marshall, in the architect in the crowd. I just want to introduce her because first time up here, but more importantly, she is the first time the city of Broken Arrow has hired a licensed architect, and so she brings an excellent skill set to the city that we haven't had before. So. You'll see her in just a minute, and I wanted to make that introduction. Anyway, right now we're here to talk about a road closure on Elm Street. As you guys know, this is just a presentation. The road closure permits come through our department, and ultimate authority for approving them goes to the city manager. We like to make the council aware when one comes up that is going to have a big effect on arterials, the traffic, the citizens. This one in particular, it's a company called Explorer Pipeline. They have a transcontinental line that just happens to go through the city of Broken Arrow, and it crosses Elm Street in this location. They had, I don't remember what the exact wording was, but they had what they detected was an anomaly in their system in this location. And federal guidelines, because of the kind of line it is, federal guidelines say once you detect that in the line, they have 90 days by federal regulations to get in there, find it, and see if there's a leak or any other problems and correct the fix. So they have to do the work per federal guidelines, so they're working with us on a road closure permit. Unfortunately, where it's located, there is no easy way to close down half the road and maintain two-way traffic. So we have ultimately approved for them to close down complete southbound traffic on Elm Street for up to a week. So it's going to be an inconvenience. We're probably going to get a lot of complaints, but it's work that needs to be done, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Looks like you've set up a lot of detours, though, so if we make sure we get that out there then.
Yep.
So where is it exactly, is it again?
So it's right there by the Steak and Shake
Okay.
on Elm, over towards the hospital. And we did to discuss that particularly. We wanted to keep the path open to go to the hospital. You might just have trouble coming away from the hospital. But you'll be able to get there. To detour people, we'd be sending them down Albany Street to get on the adjacent, I forget the name of the road, but the road that runs adjacent to the expressway that goes back by the Taco Bueno and everything else back there. So that's the detours. We're sending people down Albany,
Yeah.
over the highway, and get on that road, and you come back around.
Southwest Boulevard.
That is it.
It's great,
Thank
because
you.
it's not really packed in that intersection.
What's that called?
Southwest Boulevard.
Southwest
Really?
Express.
I did not know that.
Yeah, by the old Sutherlands there.
Yep.
Yep.
What was the time on it?
I don't think we have a specific start date, and that's one thing we've been talking about recently. It's really hard when we get these permits approved because people are really non-committal about what date they're going to start. So we try to send notifications out 24 hours in advance. But once they do start, they're estimating about a week of shutting down our road. I do imagine they'll be out there to start in the next couple of weeks, but we'll send notification out 24 hours in advance.
Well, we also have, and I don't know, I don't think we provide them, it may be the construction company, but the signs notifying people that the street's going to be closed?
I do not think we require it to be notified in advance, but it is something we can look into.
That may be good, because, I know we do a good job with social media and everything, but if you drive on that road,
Sure.
that may bring your attention to it more. and
Yeah,
be
I can
prepared.
discuss it with our team, see if there's something we can come up with.
Okay.
Thank
sir.
you, guys.
Item 7B is going to be tabled into our next meeting. Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. No action may be taken on matters under this item. We do have one person signed up, Kimberly Crenshaw.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and Mr. Spurgeon. I'm Kimberly Crenshaw. I'm the Executive Director of the Broken Arrow Senior Center, and I just wanted to take a moment today to thank the Council and the City for all they have done in establishing a new hawk beacon system at the crosswalk that ties our two senior center sites together. It has been a long time coming, and even started with City Manager Spurgeon walking that crosswalk 8 times, and 3 times no one stopped for him even. And so it's been precarious, and it's really going to make a huge difference because our two centers have been very isolated because our members have been so scared, and we've actually had to stand out there and do human shields to allow someone with an electric wheelchair to just simply go across a crosswalk because people wouldn't stop, or if someone did, someone would pull around them and pass them through the crosswalk, and I've been trapped in the middle multiple times. So I just wanted to take a moment to really thank you for looking out for the safety of our citizens. As you know, we have surpassed 3,000 senior center members with an average daily attendance of about 564 seniors a day cross our thresholds. And so this is going to make a tremendous difference. And I wanted to thank you for your time and your planning and your consideration for doing this for us. We truly appreciate it.
Hopefully it helps with you guys playing Frogger.
Yes.
Yeah.
I may be an 80s girl, but I don't like to live the life of Frogger.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I
you.
can?
Yes.
We've secured the bus that council authorized for purchase, and we will be scheduling a ceremony for me to hand Kim the keys sometime, and I'd like for everybody to be there along with the board members and some seniors, because this is a really big deal.
It's a very big deal, especially since our van has been broken down for quite a while, month
About
now.
4 weeks now, and it's still in the shop. So it was rear suspension and rear axle. So we have
Perfect
not
timing.
been able to transport our seniors in for the nutrition site, and also during the summer heat, ensuring that they're getting some cool air during the day. So thank you for all that you do. You know, it's 25% of Broken Arrow's population now is 55 and older. So, you know, of 120,000 people, that's a large portion of our city. So.
Including
That-
our newest counselor.
Yes, including our
55
vice
Thank
mayor
you.
just is going to become no longer an affiliate
Thank
member.
you. Thank you for bringing that up over and over and over.
And so we are very appreciative of that too, so we can serve more seniors and serve them consistently without any kind of gaps in service. So thank you.
Ms. Kim.
Thank you. All right, item 9 is general council business. 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute an amendment to the professional consultant agreement with Seltzer Schaefer Architects for the schematic design of the jail expansion and renovation project. Shannon, welcome.
Thank you all. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and city manager. As Charlie mentioned before, my name's Shannon Marshall. I'm the new Special Projects Division Manager for Engineering and Construction.
Well, you
And
just
so-
make me so happy.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well, I'm super excited today. We're going to continue on with this amazing project. Back in 2018, the voters approved to provide funding through the GO bond to expand and renovate the jail, as the police need some major upgrades there, including HVAC, more units, and the roofing. So we're looking back in 2022, you all approved the schematic design with Seltzer Schaefer Architects, and so now we're moving on to that next phase, which would be construction documents with Seltzer Schaefer. So the amendment here today is for their design services, $359,250.
Any questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. While you're here, item 9B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to accept the second guaranteed maximum price for Crossland Heavy Contractors for the construction of the Events Parks Infrastructure Project. Shannon.
Yes, once again, my name is Shannon Marshall, Special Projects Division Manager. We are working with Crossland Heavy Construction on improvements to the events park infrastructure for the amphitheater project, and with encouragement from you all and the city manager, we're hoping to improve GMP Package 2, which is additional site lighting throughout the entire park, including all the new roadway and parking lot improvements. And this site lighting will have actual additional power there to help for different events throughout the year for the city to use for vendors, possibly maybe a Christmas light display and things like that. So this is a great second phase to the project that we want to encourage for approval.
Yeah,
Mayor.
this will be amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Charlie came to me and his team, and Kenny, obviously not just thinking about today, but thinking about the future and the opportunities that could present itself for future use. Actually, the Christmas lighting and having some type of drive-through with food trucks and create some type of holiday traditions type event and other types of events. It's better to put the infrastructure in now, and so I'd recommend this to the council.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks,
Item
Shannon.
9C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to award the lowest responsible bidder, Becko Contractors, for a construction contract for Houston Street widening from Garnett Road to Olive Avenue. Zach?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon, Zach Smith, Transportation Division Manager. Before you tonight is, for consideration, is the widening of Houston Street from Garnett to Olive. It goes from 3 lanes to 5 lanes, and also includes a 10-foot trail on the north side of the road and connects all the sidewalk on the south side of the road, the length of the mile. So I do listen to the BA breakdown with Mr. Spurgeon, and I've heard him mention how critical this roadway is and getting it completed for the citizens. So if you recall, back in April, Charlie came and presented the amendment for this project. We had to do a slight realignment at the intersection to avoid a natural gas pipeline and get this project to completion. So over the last few months, that's what staff and our consultant has been working on. So for your consideration, the lowest responsible bidder was Becko Contractors with a total bid of $5,718,000. That's approximately, the engineer's estimate was $6.4 million. So you're looking at about $700,000 lower than the engineer's estimate. We did get another bid very close to this one, and there were 6 bidders, so it got very competitive.
I will tell you, someone that drives this road multiple times a day, is in need of this for sure. And this is one of the more complaints I do get from my constituents. And I guess there was a little patch done just in the past, I don't know, maybe week or so. And I started getting calls. I thought they were going to redo our street. They're patching it. It's like, no, I don't know why there's a patch, but it's been really bad. But no, we're redoing it. So I know everyone in that area for sure is going to be excited about this project.
Yeah.
So with that, if no one else has anything else, I would love to approve Becko Contractors on the street widening from Garnett Road, Olive Avenue, project number ST2028.
I'll second that motion. Johnny
We
will
have a
second that
motion and a
motion.
second. Roll call.
We will second that motion.
Mayor, real quick, just a quick reminder for the council and the public, this is just one of 2 miles. So at some point, we actually will be doing from Olive to Aspen. The voters approved that, and the plans and specs are done, and then obviously there's utility work and other, obviously got a coordination to go on, but certainly this is the first of a 2-mile project on Houston.
And I know Captain Phillips is here, and he's chomping at the bit for that 2nd mile to get done in front of Station 5.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, item 9D, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 1591. Jennifer Rush.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, and Council. I'm really excited to come before you this evening with this resolution. This will be probably the first time I'm not asking you for money, that I'm telling you that we have received a partnership with money. So basically, Resolution 1591 is just acknowledging and thanking the Oklahoma Department of Commerce and their staff for the partnership and contribution with the Oklahoma State Department for contributing up to $39,582,500 towards the amphitheater project. So I really want to point out a few things. This is a limit up to, and it's only related to items doing with the amphitheater. So we haven't committed to spending $39 million in this project, but through the life of the TIF, through the 25 years, there could be future projects related to this project. So basically what this does is we applied for the Oklahoma Enterprise Incentive Leverage Act through the state. I have John Chappie, the Director of Research and Economic Analysis Services, and I want him to kind of talk about it a little bit, but he was fantastic to work with our staff on all the information that the state needed to have in order to do this. And so I'd like to ask for your consideration of this resolution.
Thank you, ma'am.
Him, and then I also have Heather Turner. She's the Director of the Executive Director of Core Team with Commerce.
New Executive Director. Yes. Hi there.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is John Chappie. I'm the Director of Research at Department of Commerce. With me, as you probably know, Heather Turner, the Executive Director for our core team. We appreciate the collaboration from Jennifer Rush and your team in Broken Arrow to utilize the Enterprise Zone Incentive Leverage Act. It is a tool that we would love to see utilized more for the enhancement of quality of life and infrastructure. It is a tool that the cities can determine what is important to them in order to capture state sales taxes, resources that aren't normally available to you. So we'd love to see the completion of the sunset at Broken Arrow Amphitheater and enhance the quality of life of the citizens of Broken Arrow as well as the state of Oklahoma.
Thank you. In a state that runs on sales tax, and we don't usually have a lot of tools in our toolbox to help capture those, so we're much appreciative of this collaboration. So
this is an incredible tool. We are thrilled to see Broken Arrow take advantage of the Leverage Act, and I can take no glory in this. This was all John Chappie and my predecessors, but we're thrilled to be part of it and excited to partner with Broken Arrow.
Thank you both. Thank you so much.
We are thrilled to receive your money, so thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve this number 1591.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
If I can, Mayor.
Just lagging a little bit.
Yes. Oh, I just want to say thank you to the Department of Commerce for their help, and also Wagner County. When you look at actually the collaboration that's gone on here with this initiative, not only between the city and Notes Live venue, you look at the revenue sources able to secure and reduce the risk. The support from Wagner County and the state really puts us in a great position to bring a great product, which is what Council, when I mentioned this to you and Jennifer did too, we want to have a great product, and certainly we've done that, and so this just helps reduce that risk and ensures that we have the funds necessary to accomplish the council's goal and implement our portion of the partnership.
Did you want to, while we're still talking about this, do you want to announce that we got approval for the loop onto the turnpike?
Yes, actually, with regard to the project, one of the key elements that the team led by Kenny Schwab and Charlie Bright was to work with the Oklahoma Department of the Turnpike Authority to actually get what I call like a Texas type turnaround, to where if those folks that be leaving the parking lot that want to get onto the Creek Turnpike to head back to the east to get to parts elsewhere, whether it's Muskogee Turnpike or back to 51, will actually only have to leave the park. They'll be able to turn and get onto the creek right there, and then basically to head east. And so it's very exciting, and obviously that we're currently working on the plans and specs to be able to put that portion of it out. But that was a great partnership that Kenny actually called the director, and he came down immediately with us and said, yes, we'll make this work. So we're very proud to once again be able to partner with another state agency to make sure that this is a great experience, to reduce the amount of time, which the goal was to get everybody out of there within 45 minutes once the concert's over and you get to your car. So.
Well, I feel like not only the goal is to get them out quickly, but this sounds like such a safer way to move that many vehicles so quick. So thank you, Kenny, and whoever else worked on this. Awesome.
All right. Item 9E, consideration, discussion, and possible formation of a review committee for the zoning ordinance update and housing and demographic study and appointments of the members. Amanda.
Good evening. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. As you said, this item is to possibly form a review committee for the zoning ordinance and housing and demographic study. At the special council meeting we held on June 20th, it was the council's request that staff put together a review committee made up of 2 city councilors, 2 representatives from Broken Arrow Public Schools, and 1 member from Union Public Schools, to review the zoning ordinance along with the housing and demographic study, make sure everything's meshing up and make sure that everything's kind of coordinating the way it should before we move forward on either project. So item 9E is for the creation of that committee.
When does it start? When will the committee start?
I believe Cricket in City Manager's office is trying to schedule those meetings either late this month or early next month. So it's going to be rather quickly.
I believe one of the things that certainly we were looking at, I was looking at, is making sure all of those entities that you mentioned are all on the same page.
Yeah.
So I think that would be helpful that they can take that back to whatever their governing body is, to let them know there are some changes. And what are those changes?
Correct.
If I can, Mayor, I'll just let you know, the school district has appointed their two school board members to serve on this along with their key staff members, and we will be having an internal meeting with them within the next week to 10 days or so, just to actually outline what the goals and objectives are and what the school district would like to see, so we could try to move things along. So I appreciate Superintendent Perry immediately jumping on that and getting two school board members appointed. Steve Allen is one, and Kenny, well, who was the other?
I think it's Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Does anyone have a strong desire?
Well, it's like, I just feel like I'm being overcommitting if I commit to this. I would love actually to be on this because I really want to make sure that we're really asking all the questions. But, so I hope whoever does this, normally I would be like, yeah, I want to do this, but I don't know that I'm just not sure, depending on what the time commitment is.
Well, I mean, I would like to be on it, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity if you want it.
I'd like to be on that also.
Okay. Good deal.
Sounds like that's our two.
We're going to try to move rather quickly because obviously when the school year starts, the school district officials and staff actually get tied up.
Yeah.
And so we'd like to try to get at least a meeting or two done before the start of the school year and then see where we're at from there and if there's a need for any additional meetings. We'd definitely like to move in late July or probably like August, and that way we can get back to council with the feedback and see exactly if there's a need for any more meetings in the fall.
I'll officially nominate Mayor Wimpy and Councilman Parks to be on this committee.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 9F, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of regarding PUD 1520-2024, Forest Ridge Tennis Facility. Amanda.
Good evening again. This PUD is a proposed major amendment to PUD 66, which is part of Forest Ridge. PUD 66 was approved by City Council back in 1988. Since its adoption, this PUD has been amended 7 times. The property is generally located a half-mile south of Kenosha Street and west of Midway Road. The property is currently not platted and vacant. So as I said, this is a proposed major amendment and proposes to bring the original, what was a school tract, actually into the boundaries of PUD 66. The reason for this requested expansion is because the applicant is considering to expand the Ridge Club in phases, which is proposed to include both indoor and outdoor tennis, racquetball courts, as shown as a conceptual plan. The PUD does clarify the definition of community playfields and parks. Currently says they have to be publicly owned, so this PUD would make it community playfields and parks to be allowed by privately owned and operated. The applicant is here if you have any questions for them. There's quite a bit of information in your packet. I won't go through all of it for the sake of time, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Staff is recommending approval of this PUD.
Do you all want to hear from the applicant? Or do you have any questions of them?
No, I got to speak with Mr. Robson about just some of the concerns of, I think the main thing was the concern about potential, the lighting and then the future parking lot. It wasn't, but by the time I spoke with the resident who'd called me, she had already spoken with him. So I think we got that, they got that squared away. So I think.
Yes, after the planning commission meeting, the applicant and their team did reach out and they had 2 separate neighborhood meetings, and I think they were able to address the majority of the concerns that we heard in planning commission.
I think the developer and some of his team is here. Do you have anything you would like to add since you guys came all this way?
We love our pickleball in Broken Arrow.
Well, welcome back.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice
We just
Mayor,
wanted
and
to make you
Council. Good to see everyone. Good to see you, City Manager. I know you're familiar with this case. This is a PUD amendment. Since the Planning Commission recommended approval, we did find it was important to hold those community meetings. I do have 6 slides if you'd like me to go through those. It shows imagery of what's being planned. I'll hit the highlights too from the community meetings. What we heard from the neighborhood were several items that they had questions about or concerns that we talked through. One was lighting, 2 is landscaping, and then just going over the planned improvements. You know, what is the time frame? What does that look like? And then specifics on the landscaping. Where will that be within the landscape buffer? Also drainage, maintenance, and project communications. I think a big part of it too is just making sure that we have the open communication throughout construction. And so there has been a person delegated to handle any questions, and then also reach out and update the neighborhood proactively too. So whenever the neighborhood meeting was held, a letter was sent to all the property owners within 300 feet, the same ones that got the notice. But I think it was just really helpful to have that conversation as a neighborhood. And there were also visual boards displayed and handouts at the tables, and the owner and developer provided a presentation, and our team was there to help answer questions and talk with residents. But we answered those questions during the meeting, and we felt like everyone walked away happy. If there were concerns about drainage, those are things that engineering is underway now, but it's not complete, but we're taking those into consideration. So with the first phase, we'll be looking at potentially correcting any drainage concerns that are existing now with the first phase as well.
Well, and that was my understanding, is there's currently a few little areas there that they've had some drainage issues, but this is actually going to improve those issues.
Exactly.
The swale that they are building between the two.
Exactly.
The baby ditch, so. Of course, that was my #1 question, y'all would know, would be about drainage. So.
Exactly, and I know the owner wants to be a good neighbor and accommodate for that with the first phase of the project and just fix any of those issues that might be there already, so. I'd be happy to, if you'd like for me to go through the slides, I'd be happy to, or answer any other questions that you have.
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Lisa, second.
I was pausing.
You're gonna jump in.
All right, item 9H, consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding Comp 1535-2024. Amanda.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Did I
We're
say
on G.
Just kidding. We're going to go back to G. 9G, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of BAZ 1502-2024 rezoning.
Good evening. This is for BAZ 1502-2024 and PUD 1503-2024. These are requests to change the zoning on approximately 13.9 acres of land from A1 agriculture to RS4 single-family residential with a PUD. This is for a proposed single-family development known as Three Oaks. Property is located approximately 1/8 mile north of Washington Street and approximately 1/4 mile east of 23rd Street or County Line Road. Property is currently unplatted and undeveloped. The Three Oaks development proposes to create a single-family development. The development will include single-family detached dwellings, neighborhood community playfields, and parks including clubhouses, pools, and similar neighborhood amenities. A 50-foot green space buffer is being proposed along the western boundary abutting the current residential district, along with a 6-foot fence with masonry columns. A maximum of 45 lots served by public streets built to City of Broken Arrow standards are provided with 2 entry points along Washington Street. PUD 1503 proposes to be developed in accordance with the RS4 zoning regulations except as outlined in your staff report. So the minimum lot area is being reduced from 6,500 square feet to a requested 5,000 square feet. Maximum building height is not changing. The front setback's not changing. Okay, those are all the same. So the under the RS4 district, up to 77 dwelling units would be permitted. This PUD does restrict the number of dwelling units down to 45. In the meeting held by Planning Commission on June 13th, staff recommended approval. It was ultimately approved by Planning Commission with a 4-0 vote. No one spoke in favor or opposition to this item, but the applicant did reach out to the neighbors and did have a neighborhood meeting. He actually had some letters of support from neighboring property owners. There was a question as to the condition of 91st Street. And Rocky could probably speak to a little bit more, but there is a project underway to reclaim a portion of 91st Street and get that brought up to city standards. With that, the applicant is present and you're right. There he is. Can answer any questions, and staff is recommending approval of this item.
My biggest question was about the stub street to nowhere.
Yeah, that was brought up in Planning Commission as well, and I'll let Mr. Jones speak to what the developer is contemplating on that. We did talk about the possibility of turning that into a cul-de-sac rather than a stub street, because it does give the appearance that it's going to go through, even though there's existing single-family residential house right there.
Yeah, it's not
so
backing up to agricultural. It's
Right.
backing up to someone's house.
Right, and it is backing up to that 50-foot landscape buffer as well, so it's not
Yeah.
intended to go through. It's there to provide frontage.
Yeah, it's weird to me.
Any other questions? Do you want to hear from the applicant?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Spurgeon. I'm Ricky Jones, 6215 West Orlando Street in Broken Arrow. So about the stub street, we talked about that, and actually the preliminary plat was approved by the Planning Commission 2 weeks ago. It really is more of a glorified driveway. We had to extend that street out in order to get the frontage onto those lots. We also agreed, and in our PUD, and we agreed with the neighbors, we're going to have a 6-foot solid fence with masonry posts at their property corners. And then at the Planning Commission, we discussed we'll put a barrier of some kind to be approved by engineering that would prohibit cars from going through. But without that, if we put in a cul-de-sac back there, we don't have enough room and we'd probably lose a lot. So we worked out with the Planning Commission that we'll put in a barrier there and stop. It will also provide, if we put a cul-de-sac back there, we wouldn't be able to get a pedestrian access back to our walking trail back there. The 50-foot wide strip that's required, or that we've agreed to and want to put in, that's going to provide pedestrian access, and there's going to be a passive recreation walking trail back there. So if we put in a cul-de-sac, then we'd probably close that off. There wouldn't be a secondary point of ingress and egress for residents.
So there's going to be a walking trail back where it says the reserve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's
That was mainly my thought, is like, what if someone's just driving and they just keep driving?
well, that's why we agreed with the Planning Commission that we'll put a barrier there, a nice-looking barrier instead of something that's, but we'll work with engineering in order to do that.
And I don't want the people to, I guess it would be to the west, to think, they think we're going to, like, put a road through here someday.
No, I've had several discussions and meetings. They've seen the plans, they've seen the PUD, and as you can see in your packet, I've got letters of support, especially from a lot of those that back up to that. That was my primary focus, and they were okay with that. We discussed that.
Well, that's
as long as we have that fence. Well,
This is the first time we've had that, I think.
Yeah,
Good.
congratulations.
Good job.
Yeah, good job.
I know how to do it. I've had a
done
little
this
bit
a
of
few times.
experience. Mr. Parks was my mentor on all that. But with that, with the fence there, that should block headlights, so they were in agreement with that.
Yeah, okay.
And it is unusual to have that, as you say. You know, how many times have I sat in here and argued that that was made to go through because that stub street was put there for a reason?
Yeah.
So as long as we've got defining areas here that lets everybody know that's never going to go through,
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have any problem with it then.
And as I did mention, the preliminary plat was approved 2 weeks ago. We didn't want to be presumptuous and think we were going to be approved, but we kept waiting for the new zoning code to get approved, and it get pushed back and pushed back, understandably. So we wanted to kind of fast track that. So the preliminary plat's been submitted and reviewed, and if the rezoning's approved tonight, we'll start engineering on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Okay. Item 9H, consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding comp plan 1535-2024. Amanda.
Good evening. Comp 1535-2024 is a request to change the comprehensive plan designation on approximately 15 acres from level 1 to level 6. This property is located west of Oneida Road and north of Kenosha Street and is currently unplatted and undeveloped. The applicant is interested in developing this property for future industrial and commercial uses. If you remember back a couple years ago, we did approve a PUD, a comp plan and a PUD on the hard corner of this property. So this is an expansion of that to the north. So yeah, that was August 15th, 2023. We approved the rezoning of the southern two portions to CG and IL. So the applicant is requesting change to level 6 with the intention of then requesting a rezoning to industrial light and an expansion of that PUD for a mini storage type development. This item was heard by Planning Commission on June 27th and was approved with a 5-0 vote per staff recommendation. Staff recommend approval subject to the property being platted. There were no residents that spoke in opposition or in agreement with this item. Be happy to answer any questions.
So if it goes to industrial, then that could become a grow facility or something like that, right?
Yeah, so the PUD has actually been submitted already to staff, so I was able to look at that when I received your questions this morning. There is no medical marijuana facilities permitted. The permitted uses are actually pretty restricted down from what the zoning ordinance would normally allow. I do believe it is their intention to keep the commercial on the hard corner and then have the storage facility on the back. So the PUD, once you see that come before you, that'll be mostly for indoor, outdoor storage. There's some for boats and RVs, that kind of stuff. I will say the detention facility they're proposing is on the far eastern side of their property. You can kind of see that little flag that sticks out. So detention will be required for this site. I know there's a little bit of flooding goes on there now. So that is accounted for. We'll take care of it during the engineering and plating phase, but they are aware of it and are working it into their plans.
Okay. Any further discussion?
It's 2024.
I'll second that motion.
The motion and a second. Roll call. Item 9I, consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding Comp 24. Amanda.
Comp 1514 is a request to change the comp on 17 acres located on the northwest corner of County Line Road and Albany Street. This developed with the PUD upon approval of the comp plan change. A conceptual PUD has been included. Sorry, I'm getting too much into the PUD stuff. Sorry. Access to this property will be provided off of both Albany and County Line. So essentially what the applicant is doing, the back portion of the property right now is level 2, which supports single-family residential almost exclusively. So what they're asking for is to expand the level 4 use with the intention of coming forward with a mixed-use development, probably the CM zoning district along with the PUD. This item was heard by Planning Commission on June 27th. It was also approved with a 4-0 vote. There was no one in opposition to this item. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Has the school weighed in on this? I just can't imagine the school would like this.
They were on the notification, the 300-foot radius that was required for this. We did not have anyone from the school reach out.
I'm looking at my questions from earlier to make sure. I'm pretty sure I got it. I know I asked a bunch of questions about this one, so. I just had a hard time figuring out what we couldn't do and now we can do, or vice versa.
Yeah, so essentially right now, the level 4 does allow for more commercial type uses, whereas level 2 is, like I said, almost exclusively single family residential. So basically what they're asking for is to take away the single family residential use and open that property up for more commercial type development.
I'll make a motion to approve comp 001514-2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 9J, consideration, discussion, and possible approval regarding PUD 1561, Hillside Villas. Amanda.
All right, back again. PUD 1561 is a proposed major amendment to PUD 1027-2023. This property is 13.5 acres zoned agriculture to RD residential duplex, along with PUD 1027-2023 for Hillside Villas. This property is generally located a quarter-mile north of Elm Avenue and a quarter-mile south of Omaha Street. Property is presently undeveloped and unplatted. The PUD and rezoning, PUD 1027, the original PUD, and the original rezoning 1052 were approved by City Council on November 7th, 2023. The rezoning and PUD were to facilitate a duplex development with private streets. After the approval, the developer approached staff about changing the development to a single-family detached development. This is why PUD 1561 has been submitted. So this would allow the applicant to change the allowed uses to include single-family detached homes. Other dimensional requirements have been changed with the PUD. Namely, the setbacks, instead of 5 feet and 5 feet, is requested to go to 0 on one side and 3 feet on the other. The zoning ordinance requires a minimum front setback of 25 feet. They're requesting to go to 20, and the lot coverage to be increased from 50% to 56%. A 1-hour firewall is required for the wall that's within 3 foot of the property line, which will be required on the side of the house with a 0-foot setback. Additionally, the applicant proposes that the 3-foot side setback should be a maintenance easement. That way they can get down and maintain the side of their house on the 0-foot setback. Vehicular access to the development is proposed through the extension of First Street to the north, to the existing Stub Street, East Indianapolis Street, and the Country Lane Estates subdivision to the east. A private gated internal street with 2 access points off the public street extension between First and East Indianapolis Street will serve this development. First Street is a collector street, which gives the proposed development direct access to North Elm. PUD 1027 allows for private streets throughout the development as shown in the conceptual exhibit. PUD 1561 was heard by Planning Commission on June 27th, where the Commission recommended approval with a 5-0 vote. One neighbor signed up in opposition but did not wish to speak. Staff is recommending approval of this project subject to the property being platted. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Where will it connect into the neighborhood to the
so East Indianapolis Street, if you go down with the curves right there, into Indianapolis, and then curves up and turns into First Street. So that'll be the main connection. But the development, if you go down to the exhibit, item 5. So the internal streets will connect, the private streets internal network will connect to that extension. So there won't actually be any driveways onto that First to Indianapolis Collector Street.
The only thing I like because I asked about it because to me it looked like a senior living type development because of all the putting greens, and so that's why I asked that question. But the thing that it does, the Indianapolis connection concerns me a little bit because, I mean, when I look at their street, because I'm looking at it on maps right now, it's like it's a cul-de-sac. So when we tell people, well, if you have a stub street, you know, you should expect that, but Indianapolis, when I look at it, I mean, it's a circle, it's a cul-de-sac.
Can you pull up the aerial map again?
I mean, look,
It's like a cul-de-sac that is a stub street. It's weird. Interesting.
but yeah. I mean, but there aren't traditionally houses all around it, so I don't know if they intentionally, if they meant for it to have houses originally to go around the cul-de-sac, and it just never happened, or what. But only thing I do worry about is I would not think someone was gonna connect into my cul-de-sac. A stub street would be one thing, but, which Kansas is a stub street.
I know that the neighborhood was absolutely adamant against connecting to Kansas because there's already backup from drop-offs, or parents line that street and wait for their kids to walk behind the school,
Right.
get in the car,
Yeah.
and so if they back up their
Yes.
traffic
Yeah.
there.
There's a pretty significant detention facility up there too that makes connecting to Kansas very difficult.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, that's our only option as far as connection.
Yeah, so we did send the required notices 300 feet within the property, and we did not have any neighbors call or sign up to speak on this item.
We have one in opposition, but they do not wish to speak.
Did they say why they were in
Are
opposition?
they sure?
Yeah. Are you sure you don't want to speak?
Where do they, does it say, don't say their address, but I was just wondering. Okay. I was just looking at where they live, to see if it was on that street, maybe.
No.
And that's here you say they were requesting 0 lot lines on one side of these properties?
Correct.
And the vote on the planning commission was what again?
You don't want to speak here. 5-0. And I will say, so the streets to the internal neighborhood, those will be gated. It's just that main thoroughfare that will not be gated, so that'll allow the neighborhood access to get up through First Street and out.
So will it be gated at Indianapolis?
No. If you pull up the exhibit again. So you can kind of see where Indianapolis turns into First Street as that S curve. So there's gates right there where his cursors are.
Oh, okay.
So the
Got it.
interior of the development is gated.
Oh, I got it. I got
But there's the pass-through for the neighborhood.
Oh, so it's gonna be like
So
really
it's-
making it a pass-through.
There's 2 gates on it
Maybe
then.
like a racetrack.
Correct.
Well, that makes it which, I mean, maybe the people that live on Indianapolis, maybe they would like that, to have that extra, another way to access, because they could go straight to Elm from there instead of having to go around.
Would make it shorter, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I could see kind of the benefit, but I could also see them saying, I don't think people are going to go through the neighborhood, really. I mean, they're more likely to head to Elm. I don't know why you'd go through the neighborhood.
All the way through it. Glen Lane.
Mr. Spurgeon, have you or any of your team got any comments on this one?
Okay.
Well, I'm concerned about what the school thinks, honestly, that Kansas up in there. Did anybody from the school district have any comments about this?
Nope.
I mean, did anybody call the staff and talk to them about it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm surprised nobody showed up from the meeting.
I know, because usually the neighborhood comes out anytime this property gets brought up.
When we brought Centennial Crossing forward, there was a lot of opposition for the neighbors, so staff was a little surprised when not a lot of people reached out on this as well.
If I may, though, when we brought the previous subdivision, this showed a future connection at that point in time to Indianapolis. So I think a lot of the discussion had been done maybe 4 years ago, whatever that time frame was, about the connectivity. The exact layout wasn't, but the connectivity of the two probably was done at that point in time. And back to one of y'all's questions about why is there a cul-de-sac on the end in Indianapolis, I think this is very similar to the discussion that we just had when Mr. Jones was up here on his. The street was going to be a stub street, but then it was so long, I think this is probably about 82 range. It was so long, it required a turnaround, so they added a cul-de-sac at that point in time. Probably always planned on going through, but they either had to do a hammerhead or a cul-de-sac at that time.
Okay.
And no one had any issues with zero setbacks and reducing the lot coverage?
A lot of times, if it's a gated community, though, it's going to be a quality community. You know, at least you would think that from the beginning. They're going to be spending a lot of money on it because it's private streets, you know what I mean, and that care for. And so, you know, that says a lot, you know what I mean, for it being a gated community.
How permanent is this plan? Is it, I know everything's always conceptual, but
It's conceptual until you approve it. We have not had a preliminary plat come in at this
Okay.
point, so the layout may change a little bit. Road layout, lot layout is subject to change a little bit, but it will all be within the PUD requirements.
And that's in the gated communities in the PUD requirement.
Yes, that is correct. So the previous PUD was for the gated community and reduced size on the duplex lots. So this is an amendment to that PUD to say we want to do single-family detached, but we want to have that zero setback.
Could this be, is this similar? I know there's a neighborhood that's over off 81st. It's like a retirement community that's gated. It's the cutest little neighborhood. They're like little cottages like this, like duplexes. Is it similar to this?
I would let the applicant speak more to
Okay.
that, but that is my understanding of the project. It is intended to be kind of a retirement, downsizing type community, less lawn
cute.
maintenance, still
I
having
think
all
it's
the
called
amenities.
Forest Hills. They're nice houses.
Yeah,
but they're
it's
really close together and very
Yeah.
small yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're connected like this. They're
Yeah.
just like this. Okay, well, maybe we should just hear.
Yeah. You hear from the applicant? Is he here? Or not?
Nope, he is not present.
Okie dokie. We will not hear from him then.
So the applicant's not here?
That is correct.
I'll make a motion to approve PUD 001561-2024.
Do you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
I'm going to vote yes, just because I feel like most of the traffic is going to be going out to Elm.
I think I'll vote no because I think the applicant always needs to be here. Our representative.
I agree, Johnny. Yeah, I agree.
Did you second the motion to approve, but then you voted no?
It's okay. It's good. Way to go.
Yeah.
Got to go to a vote.
I gotta go to vote.
Got to have a second to go to a vote.
I just wanted to make sure. All right. 10A, preview ordinances. Consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance revising, updating Chapter 25, Stormwater Management of the Broken Arrow Code of Ordinances, updating definitions to match Federal Emergency Management Agency. Pat Wilson.
Couldn't sit there all night.
I mean, we could have. We could have.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Spurgeon. Before you is a preview ordinance of, as you mentioned, Chapter 25, the Broken Arrow Stormwater Management Program. The last major update was in 2002. This is an overhaul at the direction of Mr. Spurgeon and city management. Engineering and construction has been working with city manager's office on this. The main features in this, we are updating the FEMA maps, which FEMA recently updated those in the spring of this year, so we are required by September by federal law to update them. The rest of it is updating our ordinances to meet with what Broken Arrow currently does. So we're updating our definitions, we're updating our design criteria. Actually, we're separating our design criteria, removing it to the design criteria manual, because back in 2002, a lot of our design criteria for stormwater was still in ordinance. So we are separating that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Set for adoption.
Set for adoption.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call. Thank you, sir. Item 10B, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance closing a utility easement property off of 51st and 161st East Avenue. Amanda again, hello again.
Hello. Okay, so this item, and actually items B through H on your agenda, are all for the same project. These are all previously dedicated easements that are requested to be closed to facilitate the replat of the property for a single-family neighborhood. The Ironwood development was approved back in 2022 for 77 lots on approximately 22 acres. So there were 6 easements that were previously dedicated. That development never went through, so they're closing and vacating these easements in order to make way for the new plat coming in.
Just one point of clarification. I do believe it's B through G. Amanda, am I correct on that? I think H might be for a different project.
Yeah, H is 101st Street. Okay.
Yep, that's not mine, sorry.
And can we just approve all together, or do we need to do separate?
You can do them all together, Mayor, if you wish.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to preview the ordinances and set for adoption of items B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Okay. Item 10H is consideration, discussion, and possible preview of ordinance closing a utility easement on property located 1/2 mile north of New Orleans Street and 1/2 mile west of 9th Street. Amanda?
All right, sorry, I got my wires crossed. This one is for the replat of the ONG facility called One Gas. Again, the property is being replatted, reconfigured a little bit, so we're asking to close this easement in order to facilitate putting a new easement over where their building's gonna go.
Okay. Have any discussion?
Make a motion to approve item.
We have a motion
Second?
and a second. Roll call.
Did you hit? Okay.
It says no second required.
We had a computer glitch. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Alrighty. Item 11 is ordinances. 11A, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3833, an ordinance of the City of Broken Arrow amending Chapter 2, Article 14, Section 2-212 and 2-215 of the Code of Ordinances. Repeal all ordinances to the contrary. Michaela.
Good evening. I'm Michaela Barton, Tourism Manager. So this is very easy. If you remember, back in June of 2022, the Broken Arrow Convention and Visitors Bureau was officially changed to Visit Broken Arrow. And I just noticed in that ordinance that there were 2 places where it was still referenced as the CVB. So this is just cleaning that up to remove that completely and just make it all be Visit Broken Arrow.
Okay.
Move to approve ordinance 3833.
I'll second it.
The motion and second. Roll call. And item B is an emergency clause.
Make a motion for emergency clause when it comes up.
Second?
A motion is second for the emergency clause.
Maybe it's not coming up.
Mhm.
You'll have to enter your motion and second again.
All right. Remarks by governing body members.
I'll say a couple things. First, I want to say a praise that President Trump is healthy and safe today, and that he was, he did not succumb to what was intended for him. So I think that's an amazing thing. And then also I want to say a shout out to the board, the senior center, especially our fundraiser extraordinaire Farrah Phelps for the luau, the senior center fundraiser luau on Saturday night. It was so fun. We raised a bunch of money for the senior center, for the nonprofit Broken Arrow Seniors, and I was determined at the beginning of the evening that I was going down the slides, and I did.
She did.
So in my dress. So I did. I had never been down the slides at the Central Pool, and we ended the evening. A bunch of us went down the slides, so it was so fun. So it was.
We did not.
Yes, she left. She was going with me, but she got out of there before I could grab her. So it was. They were really fun, y'all. I did them a few times actually. But it was a great turnout. It was just a really good thing, and it was beautiful too. So
Yeah, it was a great event.
Yeah.
I know this has been a minute, but I'd just like to give a shout out to all of the volunteers and city staff and everybody who had a hand in the New Orleans Square Block Party for the 4th of July. It was incredible. It was elevated to a 3-day event this year. We did have to cut a little short due to the weather, but we appreciate again Mr. Schwab and our emergency management team for being diligent and paying attention to that so that no one was harmed during that event. So thank you to all of you who had a hand in that. Look forward to next year's event.
And they got everyone, like almost 30 minutes to it, like from the time.
Yeah.
And got everyone out of there, like packed up and swiftly out of there, which was amazing, so. And so Mr. Spurgeon isn't allowed to leave again because
I know.
really crazy things happen.
And shout out to Counselor Green because my daughter and I own a small business, and we had a tent that we were trying to get down and everything. And my husband was trying to get there because he was working at our business, and he was waiting till the end to come load us up, and then he couldn't get in because of the traffic going out. But he helped us load up in his truck and took everything to the house. So it was very helpful. So thank you.
Vice Mayor and Councilor Ford and I will be leaving, Lisa Ford will be leaving tomorrow, and then we'll meet in Florida for a Women in Municipal Government Conference. So we'll be there this week, so that'll be great to bring back whatever nuggets we learn while we're there.
So glad
So-
y'all are going.
Good.
That's
In
cool.
the National League of Cities.
It's a great agenda. I'm looking
Yes,
forward
it's
to
going to
this.
be a
It's gonna
really good agenda of some things about domestic violence, and so I'm
So the
excited to
men
share.
folk will be in charge of the city, so you'll be in good hands.
That's right.
Anyway.
Any questions?
Okay. Anyone else? City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, I have a few things. Good evening. First off, I wanted to share with the council with regard to the sunset at Broken Arrow. We received conditional approval from the railroad with regard to the crossing for the school that is east of Rosewood.
That's really big.
It's huge. They will start the design for the crossing, and hopefully the formal approval will come by the end of this year, which will allow us. Right now, we're in the process of building the south half of the road. We're also working on the north half, acquiring the property so we could actually get the north side finished as well. But obviously, the one thing we needed, so Kenny informed me that we should get the formal approval by the end of this year and get things moving. So I want to thank his and Charlie's team for the coordination with the railroad. Obviously, that's a major lift right there, so that's big news. Secondly is that I'm pleased to share with the council that the Research grand opening is going to be on the 7th and 8th of August. To be determined the exact times of the events associated with that, so I'll let the council know as soon as we know, but they're talking about a soft opening on the 7th and then the actual ribbon cutting type ceremony that they're coordinating on the 8th. And so we're just a few weeks away from the store actually opening, so that's very, very exciting. Yes. I do want to also echo what Councilmember Green said about New Orleans Square and all the efforts that went in. I mean, it is becoming a signature event for the city. I spoke to Mr. Dean Saturday evening at the awesome event that the Senior Center put on, and we already started talking about next year, and we're going to start the planning in September to actually just the conceptual about what we're could be seeing. And obviously, I think we're going to need a committee of staff in order to make sure we manage areas because it's just continuing to grow. And so I'll keep the council posted, but certainly it was a great event, even though it had to be cut short, and we'll start the planning and be ready to go. So, and I want to finish with one more item that I'm very proud and it's really cool, is on the Facebook pages for police and fire. In the last couple of days, there's been some announcements of promotions. And I just wanted to publicly acknowledge, obviously, we have a collective bargaining agreement that outlines the promotional process for police and fire for nearly every single position. And so obviously it's very competitive. And we had essentially 5 individuals in the fire department that were promoted. We had two to lieutenant, Jacob Hughes and Stephen Hines. Jacob Hughes is going to Station 2A shift, and Stephen Hines is going to Station 2C shift. We have 2 other lieutenants, both named Trevor Elliott going to Station 7C shift, and Trevor Morgan, Station 1C shift. And Scott Wickman was promoted to captain on Station 6B shift. And right now we're in the process of the promotional recruitment for internally, per the contract, for Deputy Operations Chief. So that process is going on right now to fill the retirement. And so there's some movement in the fire department, upward movement. I just want to congratulate on behalf of the council publicly those folks for their stewardship and moving into those leadership positions. And then last Friday, I know a couple of you were able to make it. Brad Garris was promoted to sergeant. And a very nice ceremony. He had some really good words to say about his time and his field training and everything that's got him to this point. And it was very moving, and to see his family there was really cool. So just obviously, council also finally got to meet the current Kobe U class, and they were very excited about that opportunity from speaking with some before you all got there. So thank you for your time and coming in and stopping and meeting them. Its program is very well received in terms of folks preparing themselves for the next level of their career within an organization. So that's all I have, Mayor.
I have one comment, one of his comments, in addition, is complimenting Kenny on this railroad crossing. This isn't something that just started with the, with the deal going on out there. This was a long time ago. This started with a gate.
I had hair and I was a young boy.
He was a young boy. So my compliments to him, just to add to what you said. I was excited that, well, I was excited for the city, but I was excited for Kenny because he'd spent so much time working with that. So thank you very much, Kenny.
Big deal.
Yeah. It's as if everything's coming together. Yes.
We started with the railroad crossing and we ended up with an amphitheater.
That's about right. They tentatively are looking at having the first concert sometime in late September or early October of 2025.
Yeah.
And we feel really good about where we're at in terms of, there's a lot of work. And I mentioned today in the update for Broken Arrow in Motion that there is a lot of activity that's happening out there with the sewer line, the actual entrance to the development. I mean, and it's pretty impressive the amount of coordination that's going on.
It looks like a different place out there.
It does.
But a difference it's made for that landscaping too. When you go down the highway, you're like, the trees are gone.
Yeah.
They're being moved.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we do have a executive session. Let's move for
I'll move for a brief recess to go into Bama and Beta.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Green.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Gillespie.
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to remove from the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. There are no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. General authority business, 6A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of award of the lowest responsible bid to Cherokee Pride Construction and authorize execution of a construction contract for the Wagner County Trunk Sewer improvements. Emily.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, trustees, General Manager. As Mr. Spurgeon just mentioned about the sewer line going through the events park, so this is it. We're here to award it. This is one of our oldest trunk sewer lines in our system, and Utilities is constantly out there making repairs on it, and so they're very excited to get this going. It hit a little bit of a hiccup when we went with the amphitheater, and we had to kind of go back through, make sure we'd accounted for that, didn't interfere with any of it. We made sure and did a mandatory pre-bid meeting on this, so that way all the contractors that bid on it knew that the amphitheater was coming and that they've got to work with the contractors out there. So we're excited to get this going.
All right. Any discussion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Approved. Item 6B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of award of the lowest responsible bid for to Timberwolf Excavating.
So this project is for 2 water line crossings and 1 sewer line crossing that 2 of them are over kind of at Florence between Garnett and Olive, and one of them is right across from the dog park on 101st. And they're currently aerial crossings that go across Hakey Creek, and just when we have high water with big rain events, they can get covered. And there was actually, I think it was last spring, the one across from the dog park broke, and it took utilities a while to go out there in the dark and the rain trying to go over and find where the leak was. And it's just easier when they're bored under the creek and safer down there, and you don't have to deal with them in the rain with that.
Yeah.
So we've been working on this project and hope to award it.
Okay. Any discussion?
I don't know if this is an appropriate time to ask, but will this have any interference or anything when we ever get to raise, the county project to raise that intersection at 101st and Garnett? Do we have any update on that at all?
I have not spoken to Alex. Kenny may have spoken to him recently, and I don't think so, but that's a good question.
Actually meeting with him tomorrow to catch up on projects, but this should not, because this is actually at the creek, so it's several hundred feet east of the intersection. But the last I've heard on the intersection, they planned on starting it this fall. They wanted to get done with the project on Memorial, the state and City of Tulsa project. So this should be moving to construction soon.
But saying that, they've been saying it was gonna
I know.
when I got elected, they were saying it was about to be done.
Yeah.
So.
Mr.
I
Stevens might
just
have
wanted to
some
bring
input.
it to, attention that we're still waiting for that. Yeah. But I will make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
I'll second it, sorry.
Yep, you go ahead and second that motion.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I wasn't going to vote no on it. I just wanted to make a
Madam Chair, Kenny will give us an update, and I'll have him update the council or the authority council on this, because I believe they have the funding for the work, but there's approvals that they needed in order to be able to release the construction contract. And so they're closer than they ever been, as far as I know, because before they ran out of money, and that was the biggest issue. I think they have the funding. Kenny?
That's correct. From what I heard, they've got the approval, they got the funding, but they were waiting on, I guess, an approval from FEMA, if I understand correctly. All the documents have been sent in. They'd already reviewed it, so it's more of an administrative process. And Mr. Mills told me he thought that they would have it by Labor Day, so that's kind of what FEMA has told them.
Pat was shaking his head yes to that, so.
Good, so I didn't make that one up.
He also looks like he's chuckling, so I'm not sure if that means anything.
Fine line, huh?
All right. Remarks from governing body members?
I'll just say real quick, I appreciate all the work on this because as our city grows, we need to make sure our infrastructure is keeping up with it. Because if our city grows and the infrastructure is not keeping up, that's when we get into a place of disaster. So we appreciate the team for all the hard work you guys are doing on this to make sure that we are continuing to be the best place to live here.
Right.
So,
And
thank
it
you.
goes along with intentionally growing our city, and if we're not focusing on that, but yet we're approving housing additions at 500 houses of, addition, but our infrastructure is not gonna be able to sustain it, then it all has to be working together, so.
Absolutely.
All right, city manager?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we have no executive session.
Move to adjourn?
I'll second that motion to adjourn. Oh, you gotta be quicker.
Johnny, you gotta be quicker. Motion and a second, roll call?
You gotta click it.
Computer doesn't seem to be working on this one, so could you give me that motion again, please?
As you get older, you get slower.
Chris,
Who made the motion?
Well,
Kristen?
it says you have motioned. Oh, I did, sorry.
There we go.
Okay, it's catching up now, I think.
I thought you were going to say you have mail.
Yeah.
Okay. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call?
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here?
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to remove from the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
The motion and a second, roll call?
Gotta be in the starting blocks.
Item 5 is public hearings, there's none. Item 6A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an authorization to execute a contract for economic development services between the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority and the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation. Jennifer Rush.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Trustees, City Manager. Jennifer Rush, Economic Development Director for the city. And before you, I'm bringing you a contract for the economic development services with the Economic Development Corporation. So our last contract was a 3-year contract. The last meeting we did an extension because we were still finalizing some of that agreement. So in redefining this agreement, we had Mr. Spurgeon, myself, Norm Stevens, also the chair of the EDC, Greg Graham, vice chair, Brandy Moore, past chair, Davis Robson, at-large member, Ted Cundiff, and then the interim CEO, Jim Fram. So we all had several meetings. I probably couldn't tell you how many meetings we had, but we had several meetings just to really look at the contract. We wanted to take items out of there that are no longer needed. I don't like having things in a contract that we're not doing, so we took that out. Some of the things that we did is we redefined the scope of the services. We just wanted to go through each item line by line and really understand what that meant as far as a deliverable to the city. So major changes to the contract included the deletion of tourism services. So that was something that we just, we weren't utilizing. The addition of a cure clause, basically giving the city manager the authority if there's something that council or the city would like to be investigated or looked at, the city manager can say, hey, we're not happy with these services, and then they have a certain timeline in order to get back with us the information. Also, we changed the dates for the biannual presentations, and then one of the things specifically that I know council has requested is that quarterly, we added into it that the BADC will provide a detailed report quarterly to the authority of what the taxpayer funds are being spent on. And so that was something that I know has been requested. The amount changed a little because of the services taken out, and so what was agreed upon was the EDC would receive $425,000 annually, subject to annual appropriations. That would be for the first 24 months of the contract, and that was a little bit of a decrease just because of the tourism services, some of the other services taken out. And then going forward, at the end of the second year, the city manager will conduct a performance review. Provided that expectations have been met satisfactory, an increase in the contract amount will be recommended in an amount not to exceed 10% of the original contract for the remaining year. Other items added into it,
was that there is a subtraction of funds paid due to the amount of full-time employees. And so the EDC would retain 5 full-time employees, including the CEO. If they employed fewer than 5 employees continuously for 45 days, there would be a reduction equal to 1/12 of the base salary of each vacant position. So that was another request made based on feedback with that contract. So I also have Jim Fram from the EDC. I think Davis Robson is also here if there's any questions. And I'm available for any questions if you have them. Yeah. Any questions?
So I had some questions about the 45 days, and I understand the answer. I don't agree with it, and it's because I understand if there was a carryover that we're wanting, like to hire temps or whatever, but I'm talking about like when we have. I don't know that that it's our responsibility, that it's the city, that's the taxpayer's responsibility to handle when the EDC has a vacancy. I don't see that as the taxpayer's responsibility. And then, and paying for and like, what are they required to do? Like, if they don't hire anybody, where does that money go? Like, it just goes into their general fund?
So one of the things that we discussed heavily in the negotiations was the fact that they would have the opportunity, they still need to provide the listed services, and so they would have an opportunity to employ consultants or other individuals temporarily in order to be able to still provide those services. And so that would give them the allotted time to be able to utilize those services to make sure that those line items that are being requested are fulfilled within the contract.
Okay. And I'm okay with the quarterly itemized statement. It's over the past 5 years. I mean, I've requested itemized statements multiple times. I've gotten it one time, and then it was after we had to it was like we were told. I was told I couldn't get it, and then we did finally get it. And then, but also my huge concern I have is I want to make sure that $0 that we have that we're putting into the EDC is going, that anybody that is any way involved with the chamber PAC would not get any funding from the city of Broken Arrow. I don't even know. I think that's totally unethical. I mean, I don't. Yeah, and I'm not sure how we do that because there's so much, crossover between the chamber and the EDC that I'm not sure how we guarantee that, but it's going to require some trust, and I don't really have that right now, so that's what it's going to, honestly, I'm just being honest, and so I just want to make sure that that no taxpayer dollars are being spent toward a PAC.
And I'm glad that you brought that up because that was one of the other pieces that we added into the contract that I missed earlier. So basically it says no public funds shall be used to compensate, no public funds shall be used to compensate any employee and or vendor working on a political action committee on behalf of the VA chamber or the EDC. And then there's also a piece in there too where Beta has the right to annually cause an audit by an independent auditor to be made of the records of funds appropriated to the EDC that were given through Beta. So there's also that piece as well to ensure that those are not being spent on the items that you talk about regarding the PAC.
So let's talk about the practical application of what the vice mayor is talking about on a couple of these items, and I'm sure the same council members have the same thing. So, with regard to the reporting, you have the interim CEO, and you have the vice president of the organization here, and you have Davis Robson, former chair, who was in nearly all of the negotiations meeting, and every single meeting we went over the fact that no city funds can be spent, and that includes the personnel. And so really the trust is going to have to be when the new CEO president gets here, an understanding is that those folks, none of our funds can be utilized for that, and obviously the PAC has an important role in terms of the public policy and legislation and so forth. That's going to take a conversation regarding the reporting. I mean, I'm going to sit down with Amber, and we've already had some preliminary discussions about this and the importance of seeing where those dollars go. The other provision that was added was this: my office can request something outside of the quarterly submission. So if there is a question, then we can request that, and they've agreed to that. So it's just going to take a conversation. I feel really good about the conversations we've had with Jim and Amber, and Davis was very supportive of the city's position of trying to come up with a great contract, and they addressed many of the concerns during the negotiations that the council had that we presented, not anybody in particular, but the things we were working on. And so I feel like, while there is no perfect contract, I think that we've got a really good document here, because they have some very important services that they provide to our city, and accountability is important to the council. And we hit on that every single of the 5 meetings that I know that we had. That was talked about quite a bit, about being able to count for the public dollars, and then making sure that the deliverables are clearly defined. This is what we expect from you, and when we get reports, the report's going to be set up to where, and Jim's done this before, and Amber knows what we're talking about, is to focus on, here are the deliverables that are the contract, and so when they give you the report, it's going to focus on the deliverables and what was done in those areas. And then if there's additional information they want to share, that would be something to be added to the report in addition to that, because that's what you got to be accountable for. My office does, and the council does. Are we receiving exactly what we're paying for?
Right.
And so it was a lot of discussions. All those meetings were probably at least 2.5 hours. So we went through every provision multiple times, and I know Greg Graham is I spoke to him about the provisions. Obviously, this contract is an important part of our overall economic development administration, and so I'm glad you're asking the questions. We asked those same questions, and I feel like we've come up with a contract that addresses them.
No, I'm glad to hear there are specific, I don't know if y'all use the term KPIs, those performance indicators that we're gonna for sure look at. And I love reports with pretty pictures, but I like granular. I get into the details, and so pretty pictures don't tell me numbers, and that's what I'm looking for, is actual numbers.
The other thing was, if we don't win a project, why didn't we win a project, so that we can address the things, especially if it's for the same reason on certain sites over and over again. We need to know what we can do to improve those sites.
So I'm
There's
glad you
language in
mentioned
there,
that.
Madam Chair.
Yep, we added that language into the contract as well. And so we've talked about the reporting feature. I've actually received the latest report. You'll see it on the next council agenda. I think that you guys will really like the report. It kind of just really gets to the meat of things, as far as telling you the numbers, where they're at, what they've been working on. And so I think that the authority will really appreciate
Because
that.
there's things that the city could be doing, maybe we could do something better that we don't know. If we don't know why they didn't choose Broken Arrow, there might be something that, okay, we need to improve upon this so that we don't get passed over next time. And it's important to us.
Well, they expressed a supportive of this. Obviously, there's what we're interested to say. But bottom line is, for the public's knowledge, is if there's no water or sewer in that area, and that's what and sometimes you can't glean. They won't tell you, so you have to try to glean. If you can't glean why they didn't come, then you don't know. But if they tell us as well, we like the site, but there's no water and sewer there, and two prospects have been there and there's no water sewer, then the city's got to look at them in their long-range plan addressing that. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to strike out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of information that the council needs in either capacity of council or special or BAMA to be able to say, we need to do something about this if we're ever going to make that a piece of property that can provide primary jobs.
And I'll just add, while I definitely believe some of the concern from the past are valid, I'll also add that the Economic Development Corporation we're dealing with now is changed. We have new leadership in place. We have new vision, new eyes on it. So I'm giving them a benefit of the doubt and believe that we're going to be successful as we go forward with this.
Mary, I'm not sure if Davis or Jim would like to say anything.
Good evening, guys. I just want to say that I was involved in the majority of the conversations, and they were about a minimum 2.5 to 3 hours each one. And there were a lot of things that were brought to our attention during those conversations that we weren't necessarily aware of. And I'm really excited on the way that the conversations had gone to get to this agreement, and that we do have some initiatives internally that we're working to keep those lines of communication open with the board and looking to kind of move forward in the right direction and be able to work towards fulfilling all of the deliverables that you guys have set forward, and just looking forward to a good partnership from here on out. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Mr. Spurgeon, first of all, just thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend some time back in northeast Oklahoma for a little while and escape my wife's hometown in central Missouri. The key to economic development, and I spent 40-plus years, a lot of those years were spent in Bartlesville and with the Tulsa Regional Chamber. And the key to that is a partnership, and where the city and the chamber and the economic development group are all going in the same direction. That means a lot to site location consultants, and transparency is the key. We're reviewing right now some new software that will enable the city manager and Jennifer and anybody on their staff to go in and look at what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're doing. And obviously there will be some security to that, but it's going to be a method where they can go in and see what we're doing. We've also been having meetings with our finance person in putting together that detailed report of what each penny of the city dollars are being spent on, and we think that's very important. So I'm anxious to work with you. This has been fun. Your city manager is great, mayor is great, and I enjoy working with you all. And I don't think I'm going to be here a long time, but I get to spend a month or two here, and I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're lucky to have you. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Oh.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. We do have an executive session. Governing body members, do you have any remarks? City manager?
I have none, ma'am.
Okay. We do have an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to take a brief recess.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second to take a brief recess as we go into executive session.
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes.